Hi guys, as a remote closer who cash collected over $100,000 USD in December 2025, arguably the slowest and hardest month of the year, so what everyone says, I wanted to break down exactly how I did that, the exact breakdown of what I used, how I behaved from a business founder mindset as opposed to an employee or a closer passively sitting inside the business. I wanted to break down everything and give you it on paper, not just, hey, here's how I close. I jump on calls, I find an offer, and then there we go. This is giving you all the tea, all the insights, so many things that I did to help me reach the success, the first milestone in my closing career, which I'm openly documenting and sharing online in sales for you. So I hope this helps, whether you're a founder yourself, a business owner, and you're potentially looking for somebody who actually knows what they're doing and how to help a business scale their revenue and not just sit passively waiting for the leads to come in, but someone who actually operates as a founder mindset as well to be able to grow that. So yeah, this advice is not strictly for closers. This is for building sales partnerships that actually protect your clients, protect your revenue, and allow you to scale long term. So the purpose of this framework, this is how I feel and find, based off data and logic, high ticket sales works best at scale. And I've designed this based off my last few months in sales, especially the last one, to actually reflect the order of responsibility that produces sustainable revenue, right? And number one, at all times, I really believe that it's the client's best interests that come first, no matter what. Never mind the closers, never mind the founders. Being able to have the client's port of call at all times, their long-term goals, their vision at the forefront is going to be what actually drives your decision making forward, whether you're the founder or the closer. And number two, I've got the business. The founder actually comes second to what the client's needs and responsibilities are. And third, is the closer. And even though I've ranked this as 1, 2, 3, in this video, I'm going to show how seamlessly, how connected each one is in this almost like pyramid of this setup, because it's so important. And the underlying thing with all of this is the communication between all three stops. Like as soon as you have another party getting in the way, or like friction or obstacles in the midst of that communication, and then that communication between the client on the call, the prospect, and then the founder gets a bit muddied, that's where we have problems. That's what I've noticed anyway. So when this order is actually respected, I've noticed that all three parties win, right? Because we're looking at that alignment, that harmony, this working structure for not the company, but for the client. Because without the client's testimonials and their success and wins that they're having, we don't have a business, right? And that doesn't help anyone. We're going to be looking at why closers sit at the most sensitive point in the business, where I sit at the most sensitive point, where you, if you're a closer, where if you're a founder, if you're taking your calls at the moment, because they're at the point where all the marketing promises, all the things in the ads, all the marketing you've done organically online and YouTube videos, that's where they all become part of a real conversation. And this is where a client's expectations are either validated, they're set, or they're kind of completely unvalidated altogether. And that's where objections pop up, and you're there like trying to answer every single question, losing your frame from a closer, and then the whole thing just goes blah. So this is where that delivery starts, like that service starts happening from the very first initial port of call, because as a closer, you're the first impression, albeit the marketing and the founder's face, the team, however, if they're face heavy on the business, you are, like, as a closer, you are the first impression that sets the tone for that call, and it is all human based. And that's where that alignment comes in, right? Because yes, the founder's on the marketing, but then as a closer, it's your job to set a great first impression. So I want to highlight and touch upon the risk, the 3 kinds of risk. There's reputational risk, where you can end up as a closer, if you're not careful, over promising or erode trust that's already been built up by saying the wrong thing or not saying it in the careful way, or misunderstanding. And then there's operational risk, maybe like there's a mismatch, like a client wants something but actually they're not your ideal client, and then you've like missold them, or you're not able to fulfill all their needs because it's just completely unrealistic. I've had that in property myself, where a client's like, I'm happy to be onboarded and I'll pay you 5k up front, Cathryn, but my standards are, I'm looking for criteria of like a really deluxe high-end property in London, in bang slap centre zone 1, and I'm just there like, you know what, I want you to keep your money, I don't want you to pay me anything, because that is, I'm telling you now, that is not something that me or my team will be able to fulfill. So that's what I mean by operational risk. And then financial risk as well. Maybe there's like leakage with revenue, if leads are getting slipped by as well. There are all different kinds of risks, and that's something as a closer I think it's very, very important to show that you're thinking from a founder's perspective. It's a partnership here. It's not just, oh, I'm taking calls and I'm getting my job done and clocking in, clocking out. Like, that's not how you do it. I wanted to also touch upon how, again, I said closers are on the front line. They are, with stress testing, especially if it's a new offer, the messaging, we're listening out for what prospects are saying, like what have they been liking from the marketing. We're reporting that data at all times so that as a founder, you understanding, right, okay, what's working well, what's not working. These closers, they are on the front end. They are getting the feedback that we need right now to be able to make the front end and the marketing and the front of house even more dialed in, so it's better. And again, from experience, I'm not being very, very anonymous here, but I have noticed when a closer has been listened to and things are communicated and they are taken on board, that's great. That's a win-win-win. Even if it's like a rubbish idea, like as long as things are being heard, that's great. But then when we're having a bit of a block, hang on, things aren't being listened to, we're taking the calls, but then this is happening, this is an issue, and they don't get listened to. That's where things start getting a bit plugged up. The shower drain gets dirty there. So we want to look at like increasing our conversions as much as possible. And things like hesitations, perhaps from clients that come up, like, oh, decision point, or maybe there's objections around like more emotional, so like decision making because they're fearful or they've been burnt before, or maybe they need more reassurance and more like slightly a little bit longer on the call to objection handle and just guide them through it, or set up a 2-stage if they're still feeling hesitant. There are certain patterns that come up, and it's important to keep track those patterns, because again, as a closer, you're on the front line, you're hearing these objections and patterns in real time, and they need to be listened to. That partnership between founder and the closers like needs to be so dialed in, because this is where money is literally being lost. Like if I could put all my money and bet, say, this is where all your money is being lost to a business, I don't even know what the product is. It's where the communication between closer, sales team and the founder is just not being had, right? And we need to iron out as much friction as possible so that we can increase the conversions as best we can to drive even more revenue for the business. So again, this all comes down to thinking like a business owner inside the sales function, not just a closer, not just someone who's here because they've taken a course and it looks good and it's all very selfish motivation and they want to sit on a beach and take 2 calls and then somehow make over 10,000 USD a month. Like, I don't even know anyone who does that, but that's what social media portrays, and it's very selfish, and that's the reason I'm making this video, because again, I've cash collected over 100,000 in a single month individually, may I just say, for a multi-million-dollar offer. I feel like this is relevant. When closers are encouraged to think like business owners, that is where the most success happens, at least speaking personally from myself. I don't just mean, oh yeah, like now suddenly the closer's going to run my marketing and they're going to decide everything. No, this means awareness, having that awareness about responsibility and thinking like an operator, right? Because you want to optimize for long term, for LTV, for lifetime value of clients, not just short term. Like, for example, something I did and do is keep track of clients who I'm like, oh, they would be a potentially good client on the back end for potential upsell. And again, I'm speaking objectively here. If they've got issues and I'm like, yes, face value, like they are going to be great fit, 10 out of 10 fit for this offer, baseline offer, but then later on they've still got questions, they still need more help, they're already starting to see an ROI, absolute no-brainer. If they still need more help, well, looks like we've got something else, we've got another solution for you. I would mark that down because I'm thinking like an operator and like with a growth mindset, not just for the sake of like, oh yeah, like today I made X commission and then like just clock off. I'm making notes of who, because that's where you start to scale the business's revenue. Okay, they're good. And then I think it was like November, I sold a bunch of people, and then I had my next best month in December. I did just under 5k USD November, and then profit. But in terms of cash collecting, that was over $55,000. And the number of people that ended up ascending and being upsold in December, which helped obviously bring in more revenue just from the lifetime value, was insane. And it showed me one thing, that actually thinking like a business owner, and again having that alignment with the founder mindset, and not just I'm a closer, I've done a course and I'm just here to show up, that is way more valuable. And it's why I'm making this video. Again, I'm going to keep pushing that hard so you understand the point I'm making. We're not looking at isolated commission here. I really do believe that my success is coming down to thinking and caring about the total business revenue that is coming in, and different ways to find that as well. Things like, again, another thing I'll throw in is, I know Alex Hormozi talks about it, asking, not being afraid to ask for referrals. If someone tells me, especially if they tell me at the end of a sale, I remember one gentleman, we had about, I think three calls, and 2 of them were follow-ups, but I would not give up on him, because he was like 11 out of 10 fit. He was really, really good, and he was getting in his own way due to fear. So we just talked through gently and carefully, and he ended up referring another person and offering to. So I'm just like, you know what, if one person opts to do that after being objection handled, like, think about how much money we're leaving on the table here. That's where I want to think about in terms of growth here. The role of a closer isn't just to generate cash as well, but also to think about, we don't want the wrong clients entering in the ecosystem. We don't want the right clients entering for the wrong reasons as well. And we also don't want just short-term wins that actually are going to create long-term damage. Like, are they going to be a pain in the community? Are they actually going to like not show up, even though the investment was not an issue? But the dark side of that is that because it wasn't an issue, they weren't going to commit. They weren't ever going to commit because it didn't mean anything to them, and therefore they don't get the results, and therefore a business can't get a good testimonial, and therefore that could have been a spot that somebody else could have had and could have been better business, and therefore could have been a testimonial to help someone get over the line. That's how my mind works, right? Again, founder mindset. We're not looking at, I'm a closer, I'm here to clock in, clock out. So we're looking at what benefits the business total, that alignment. Things like studying, I mean, most closers, should be doing this anyway, but studying the offense end, internalizing, learning testimonials at the back of your hand, client language. I made Quizlet cards for my offer because it was a very technical offer, and I ended up doing 40% of the total revenue in December, despite not even knowing like how to like use the offer, if you get me. It was very, very technical, one of the hardest things I've ever done, but it just goes to show that following a process and committing to the mindset of founder, not just salesperson, really does work. Okay. Another thing I want to come on to, it's going to be a long video, but hopefully there are some gems if you are a business owner who's watching and you're thinking like, is there anyone who has the head screwed on, who knows, who's thinking like I am and wants a bit of a hand, then maybe this is for you. But another thing is like offering familiarity as a revenue multiplier. So for example, when a closer joins an offer, usually there's that ramp up period where you're learning the offer, maybe there's confidence issue because you're just not taking a call yet, and then you're like, I'll just get the first one out of the way. And that period where it's a bit awkward, like when you take calls, it's almost like a delay before that exponential growth can even happen, which is so fair. Things like decision making, things like real world situations, like understanding that it's not just follow the textbook, follow what my mentor gave me, follow what I learned on this course and then apply it and then you make money. It's not simple as that. There are loads of, especially I found that as I'm going deeper and deeper into my months of closing, you can have a month whereby you feel like you are on top of everything, and then the next month it's like, hang on, that was another real world situation where it didn't fit the ICP. What scenario could this have been? It didn't fit the script. I don't personally use a script. I lean on frameworks and understanding the why behind what I do, the philosophy, the Socratic method, as opposed to like reading off a script, for this very reason, because most closers or salespeople are trained to read off a script or read off what's coming next, and that's what forces this inauthenticity, and it's just so unorganic and it doesn't work. And then that leads to hesitations. When there's that alignment with founder and closers and sales, you can start to understand and speak the same language. Like, even if you've not taken 10 gazillion calls yet, if you're brand new, at least you're picking up on issues that are coming up or objections, and you can feed that. And then as a founder, you're then like, right, this means this is why this is happening. And then once somebody understands the why behind that, you can start noticing an identifiable pattern instead of just trying to learn what the common objections, how do I get around that? Instead, you're learning the patterns and you're learning how to identify them, which is absolutely key. And it's something that, again, having that clean communication all the way through, not fudging up the communication line between founder and closers, and letting that alignment just happen, that partnership be crystal clear, and that communication is absolutely key. So another thing I really want to highlight is lead flow, reality versus expectations, and responsibility as a founder to be able to provide your closers with enough lead flow but also qualified. And you might be asking, what even is qualified? If you're a closer or as a founder, like, how would you define qualified then? Well, looking at it purely logically, is the person who has applied to be on the call, firstly, investment. Do they know how much it costs before? Like, if you're selling something high ticket, $5,000 above, $3,000 or above, $10,000, $15,000, do they know that? Or is it going to be like a kind of total waste of time where you could have been talking to somebody else who does know the investment and just needs that encouragement to be able to make the investment because they've already pre-qualified themselves, when actually you just spent 40 minutes on a call for them to say, I'm 10 out of 10 sold, Kath, but I'm a college student. I can't do this right now. Not, by the way, not saying that every college student can't invest in that, just the norm, just what I've seen. I myself couldn't have invested in something like that as a college student. I say that, and I invested multi-thousands into property training. But anyways, that's one example. I mean, financial is a huge one, especially depending on the offer. But qualification, like, are they also my ideal clientele? Is it someone who could get the maximum benefit and value out of the offer at the level they're at? For example, if you're selling a property investment offer, is this somebody who has just found property yesterday? I mean, it could be ideal client, but like for the most part here, somebody's just gone, I know nothing about it, I've just seen it yesterday, I'm absolutely cold, I don't know how it works, they haven't seen any testimonials, and they're really cold as in like they just don't know, they're not educated on the offer or even on like what property investment is, and then they're on a call with you, you're so gonna get a let me think about it, like, or probably no, which is good. It's good you get that no from someone who isn't qualified, because you don't want to be mis-selling somebody. But for someone like that, that's what I'd call an unqualified lead. It's not whether it's right now or ever, they're just not a right fit, whether it's time, budget, education on the offer. Whereas qualified, you want someone who is likely, ideally, it doesn't have to be, but aware of the investment, understands the investment as well, and still hops on that call, is educated on your offer, also believes when I say educated on the offer, they've been watching your videos, whether it's long, short form, they know exactly who you are, what you've done for other people, they've studied your testimonials, they're already convinced, they just need that little push over the line, and yeah, they want to get started, and the only person stopping them is themselves most of the time. So yeah, really, I'm focusing lots on this because it is so important. From experience, consistent volume with offers usually goes back to undialed or unstable paid traffic. So paid ads that are fresh, brand new, and they're just not dialed in yet, or over relying on organic demand as well, holding assumptions about historical records that no longer hold true. We did X amount for X amount of months, but then we're looking at 6, 7, 8 months later now, and the data says otherwise, and infrastructure that isn't yet built for scaling, right? I wanted to press on this just very briefly. Such a long video, but it's so important. It is not the role of the closer to be creating that demand or controlling lead volume. They don't control that. The role of a closer, from the last few months that I've done this and having cash collected over 6 figures in 1 month, in the hardest month of the year, the role of myself, other people, myself, is to convert existing demand into revenue. The demand, the people who say, I want this, I know this, I maybe want this, I've heard some good things, like who are showing up, who are applying to calls. If you have an empty calendar, like good luck, have fun. I've been there and it isn't fun. And it especially isn't fun to like go from riding really great momentum to suddenly, why is the calendar empty? What's going on? Without that momentum, it's not great. I think as a founder, this is where again that alignment is crucial. Whether it's the start, whether you're onboarding new closers, whether you're looking to even think about setting up a team of closers or have one closer, having that very, very clear communication about the reality and the expectations of the lead flow is crucial, because that's going to allow your closers to set real accurate expectations to avoid sales that have been rushed or totally unaligned, and also protect clients from entering, on the offer without real assumptions, under falsified assumptions as well, about how many people are even in the community, about how it's even working, about testimonials as well, if the lead flow isn't even there to be able to get the testimonials. Again, thinking from a founder perspective is so crucial. And one thing as well I just wanted to add there, regardless of your closer's skill set, if they aren't getting the lead flow or the volume, like even 3 calls a day, every single day, is better than like 2 calls one day, none for 4 days, maybe 3 calls on one, like you're having 5 calls a week, like what? Whereas 3 calls for 5 days or 3 calls for 6 days, right? That's 18 calls. That's a little bit more, but again, it depends on lead flow. Again, another big thing I wanted to touch upon, how important this is, especially when you've got a team of closers, and the whole point of sales and closing is it's performance-based. All of it's performance-based. Is lead allocation and the efficiency of your revenue that's coming in. So it's not about who's number one, who's sitting number one, who's sitting number two. Like, yes, it is, but done in a very logical way. For example, when you're having ranked 3 out of 3 leads or a VIP lead coming in, and a closer who is less likely to convert that lead, maybe their skill set is lacking in one area, maybe they're great at discovery but their objection handling falls short, maybe they're always rely on a deposit as a crutch rather than actually handling the objection at its core. When that happens, I've noticed this, I have seen this myself with my own eyes, that is going to reduce the efficiency of the revenue that you're bringing in. Ultimately, going back to the very beginning of this video, that is putting the client as number 3, because all of a sudden you put, no, but the closer needs number 1. We think that closer can close, even though track record says, well, how are they actually handling this objection? How many calls in the last 2 weeks have they closed based off of objection handling? Okay, we're putting the client's needs below if we're doing that. Whereas actually, if we look at, okay, logically, who's the closer, not looking at names, who is the one who's actually handling those objections, who's getting people out of their own way so that they can improve, and just look at it, who's cash collecting the most in however many weeks, however it's tracked. Once we allocate the better leads to the person who is more likely to convert, in that respect, we're actually putting the client, the prospect first, because that means they're going to have a better experience. And by better experience, I mean they're actually going to be more likely to be stopped, prevented from getting into their own way, because they're actually going to have their objections handled, and they're actually going to be able to be more likely to make a change, which is ultimately why we're here, right? So again, lead quality, definitely that alignment with the conversion strength is so important. Like your closers, if you're a founder watching this, your closers or closer need to be taking leads that are matching, corresponding to their skill level, right? Like have your closers who are less skilled in handling objections, who are less skilled altogether, like take the worst leads, and then the best closers take the leads that are most likely to close. Think about it this way: if you've got someone who's more skilled, whether it's through experience, through just handling more objections, who are good at it, and the ones who are training to be good at it, taking the ones who are less likely to close, you're gonna have more revenue coming in. That's just by the data. That's more likely to happen. And that's what we want. That's the goal. And also the closers who are learning can learn from the ones, whether it's watching videos, watching what they say, they can learn and take feedback there. Being transparent about lead, like how warm the leads are, and also testing phases. So for example, a big thing that I've experienced in the past is while lead flow is still in the process of being validated, like for example, we're still dialing in the ads where we've only just started, we've only been on organic, which is completely fair enough, like completely get that is the stage your business is at right now because you're scaling. But if you're calling that warm, or saying you've got loads of lead flow, when actually you've got too many closers, maybe, who one of them's got a really fully booked calendar and then maybe the other two have quite an empty calendar. You've got to be transparent about that. It's just something I've noticed, because more often than not, the closers who aren't getting that many leads, what's going to happen? They want to make money for the business. And if they can't even have the chance of doing that, there's only one thing that's going to happen. They're going to walk away. That's just the sad reality of it. So having that, like, again, that communication and alignment between founder and closers and just being transparent is going to save a lot more time, because chances are you may even be able to crack some new ideas out from the people who are actually on the front line, not just operations, not just the people who are helping with the operational, the AI, the systemizations, but the people who are taking the calls. So again, having lead flow that is actually systematically predictable, you can predict where it's going, is so important. This leads me to say that founders who are transparent about what's already proven, what's working, what we're still experimenting on, what success looks like. For example, if I'm putting X amount of ad spend for this month on this is what I expect based off previous data from last month for you guys to be able to do. Having that sort of conversation at the beginning of the month or the end of the month, and being so crystal clear and dialed in with closers, not just your internal team, is so crucial. Like, that's definitely a big thing that I've seen, and I really would love to see more of going forward. Whether you're a closer in your company and somebody watches this or somebody else sees this, like, that is so instrumental, because having that line of communication, again, it allows us, or you guys as closers, to actually set accurate expectations and not be too idealistic in a playground or in parameters that don't allow those goals to actually materialize yet, but being realistic on what is actually possible to be able to lay the foundation for what is or can be possible later on, will serve you so much more in the long run. And it will also foster loyalty, trust, more commitment. Also protecting clients from buying during uncertain times as well, depending on the offer. For example, if it is completely brand new and you've got a community offer, maybe you want to be a bit more dialed in on getting that demand first and building that list of demands so you've got that ready to go. That communication also allows you to use usable market feedback, right? There's no point if you've got an offer and you've got a couple leads coming in, but then you don't have a lot of leads to be able to even give you that feedback. Even if it's like 10 objections, that's not going to help either. The last part of this video I really wanted to touch upon is, again, that ideal founder closer partnership, what that exactly looks like, because again, this is so instrumental to having a successfully communicative arena whereby as much revenue is able to be made because people are being listened to, data is being used in the right way to be able to do the right things, to be able to generate more cash flow based off successful habits, successful actions, previous successful things that have been done and tracked. Consistent traits that I've seen over the last few months in scalable sales environments have been, again, clients first, clients protected first, and expectations completely explicit from the get-go. None of this, like if you are scaling, if you are looking to build, like be realistic. Don't just say like ads around the corner in 2 weeks, but actually we are setting this up right now. This is very organic as it has been. Do not expect a full calendar within the next month or two. This will take months to prove and perfect as we progress. Progress is better than perfection for now. So having that clear communication is it's going to serve you much better, because I've been in the position where I almost overpromised, and then kind of when I'm like, when's the calendar going to be full, and looking for the delivery on that end, it's a little bit awkward. Again, it's going to make any closer who is looking to drive as much revenue as possible, if they don't get given the opportunity to be able to close and to be able to do that, just walk away. Another trait is context shared across all the teams. Do not stay silent. Like if you have teams of operations and you've got AI going on, you've got systemization and customer success, like yes, that's all great, but we need to be able to again have that clear alignment between the sales, the founder, and the closers. Like that line needs to be not interfered with, right? Because the performance data, like we're in the front seat with the driver's the founder, and we're the closer, and we're there telling them what's in front of the windscreen before they drive into it. That is what we are here to do. Again, I really do believe having cash collected over 6 figures in last month that is treated like a partner. If you're treated like a partner as a closer and not just passively sitting there to take orders, or when you have something valuable from calls, to be able to at least communicate that is going to help scale the company. Like that is what I've just found. Like again, communication over staying silent and like bottling things up and having issues or questions that could make calls a little bit more smoother, completely ignored. That as a founder, if you can do your best to make sure that alignment is there with the closers and that communication and full transparency, is going to be smoother for everyone, from everyone's perspective, and most importantly from your clients' perspectives too. And lastly, from a closing perspective, from a founder's point of view, the question stops being like, can this person close? Like, are they qualified enough to actually close my deals? Like once you've actually identified, yes, this person can close consistently. I myself close consistently at between a 41 to 46% closing rate myself for a multi-million-dollar offer. The question more becomes, can this person protect the business while it's growing? That's the question, not can this person close? Like once you've got someone who's actually dialed in, and a team or one closer or a team of closers who actually like know what they're doing, and it's just a case of keeping on training, like the gym. You keep on training. You don't just go to the gym like a year and go, oh, I'm great, and then like, oh, I've hit my goals, and then that's it, never have to do it again. It's a constant work in progress. It's a skill set, it's a performance, it's a sport. The question is, can this person, let's say I'm away, can they still drive in revenue while we're growing and scaling? Because clients is number one focus. Sales scale the fastest when clients are served correctly. So that means in the back end, communications being had between closers and the founder. Closers are trusted and informed all the way through as well. So if, let's say, closers have questions, they need to be able to pick the founder's brain as soon as possible, whether it is latest maximum 24 hours. Also, incentives are always aligned with outcomes as well. So any incentive, whether it's for closers, whether it's for like referrals in the back end, there's always an outcome that puts your client first and it puts them as forward facing, because that is the goal of it. It's not about making, someone on the team feel good about themselves. It is about thinking about your clients and their LTV and how satisfied they are, because when they win, then the business wins. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen watching this video, if you've made it this far, then hopefully you've taken something, maybe a couple things away from this that you can use, whether you're a closer, a founder yourself, or a sales manager. You're somebody who is working in a business or operating your own business. So crucial. Like a few months, particularly last month, worth of data I'm reporting back on here. I've condensed into a half an hour video, But when this is actually looked at, when that communication is had and the alignment's there, it feels great. I know this is about logic and data, but it feels good from a closer's perspective and from a founder's as well. It's so, so important to make sure that all the parts are working inside the whole, because otherwise how can you expect the whole thing to work if the parts inside aren't working harmoniously together? And that is how my friend's sustainable revenue, from my experience so far, is built. It's built upon that alignment and that communication. Again, let me know if there was anything you found useful, or if you've got an idea, if this has triggered anything and you wanted to share or leave a comment, definitely do. Or you can reach out to myself on Instagram as well at Cathryn-Olivia, and we'll go from there and I'll answer any questions that you have. But I hope this helps. And again, if you are a founder, business owner, and you're doing multi six figures to $1 million a month, and you're looking for somebody who actually can, who's dialed in, who can handle those high level conversations, who can read the room, who's emotionally intelligent to actually pick up on someone when they're hesitating and not just like shove a deposit down the throat, and has collected multi six figures across various industries and sales, then I'd be an asset to your team. And hopefully maybe there are a few things that you've taken away for your business from this video as well, using my experience. But anyways, take care and see you soon. See you in the next video.